welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I'm so glad to have you here. My name is Steph Castelein. I help new bloggers start and grow their blogs, and today I'm going to give you some tips that you can use if you are trying to name your blog. Picking a name for your blog feels like a big deal, and that's because it is. I mean, it's where you're sending people to see more of your content. It's what they first see when they get onto your website or to your blog, and it's really an identifier of what your blog and website is about. I know that for me, choosing the perfect name held me up for so long from actually starting my blog. Like, it's ridiculous how long it took me, but I wanted it to be perfect. Like, was it going to be about travel? Was it going to be about my lifestyle? Was it going to be about something specific? You know, I wanted to get it right. So I understand that pressure that you're feeling if you have been struggling to come up with a blog name. Just keep in mind that you can always change. You can always change your blog name. You can always change your blog's domain name. There's a lot of extra work involved with this step, but it's not impossible. But you don't want to be stuck on picking the perfect blog name. Like, you don't want that to hold you back. So just keep in mind that as you're trying to decide all of this, like, you can always change if you need to in the future. All right, so diving into some tips that will help you. The first thing is to use a keyword and play off of that. So if your blog is going to be about something specific, say running, baking, mom blog, you can include the keyword in the blog name as well as the domain name to help identify what your blog is about. So for me, my blog, Simply Blog Now, is all about blogging. And so I included the keyword blog in it to help people know what it's about right away, but to also help with SEO. Some people say that including the keyword in the domain name will help you rank higher and show up more. Some people will debate that. So it's not essential, but it does help establish what your blog is about. And if you do want to include a keyword, but you're having trouble coming up with that perfect name, or maybe the domain name is already taken, I have a brilliant suggestion for you. I did an entire video on it, and I will link that video down below as well as put it up here in a card. But it is using a name modifier. You should watch this video because I get so excited about it. Facebook, it's available. Twitter, it's available. YouTube, it's available. This is a great domain name, website, blog option. Yes! Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. But it is a name modifier that helps you think of different words that you can use to come up with an available domain name as well as then a blog name. So the video that I just talked about goes way more in depth, but I'll show you what this looks like real quickly because it is awesome. And I actually used it to come up with the name Simply Blog Now. Like, this is exactly what I used to come up with that blog name and domain name. I knew I wanted to include blog or blogging or blogger in that somehow. I wasn't sure what other words I wanted to include, and this helped me come up with it. So I use leandomainsearch.com. Again, I'll link that down below. And all you do is you enter the keyword that you want to include in your blog name or domain name. So let's go ahead and enter running. And we'll search for that. And so what this website does is it gives you available.com, because that's important. We're going to talk about that in a second. .com domain names that contain the word running. So you can see that it gives you different modifiers, different modifying words before or after your keyword that you could potentially use as a blog name. So go ahead and just check this out. If you have a specific niche that you want to talk about for your blog, like, you know what the foundation is going to be of that, go ahead, and I highly recommend using Lean Domain Search to not only give you ideas, but to also show you what's available. Yeah, it is awesome. Obviously, I get pretty excited about it because I've used it in my own experiences, so I'm confident that you can use it too to come up with something awesome. So let's move on to tip number 2. Tip number 2 is to make sure that you have a .com domain. I just referenced this in the first tip, but you definitely want to make sure that you are using a .com. Of course, you can use a .net, you can use a .org, but that's mostly for nonprofits. But yeah, if you're gonna start a blog, you really want to use .com. Also, .com is so common that people are probably just gonna assume that your website is whatever your website is .com. So if it's not, it might lead them somewhere else. So let's look at this scenario. I have my blog, simplyblognow.com, and say that you want to start a blog about blogging and you do simplyblognow.net. Well, if you tell someone that on the street, or one of your friends or family, or, you know, whatever it may be, or maybe someone found your blog beforehand and they want to reference it back and they can't really remember, but they put in simplyblognow.com, just assuming that, they're going to show up on mine. They're going to end up on my website. You definitely want to make sure that your blog is a .com domain name. The third tip is to make sure that it's easy to spell. Don't put in symbols, especially if you're using and, spell out and. Another confusing one is to, or using TO, TOO, TWO, or the number 2. So just be really clear on that. For a while, my domain name was my name, Steph Castelein, and just like spelling that, S-T-E-P-H, no not F, no not 2 F's, and Castelein, it's like, oh boy, okay, E-I, and yeah, it was just complicated. You want something that you can tell someone and it's memorable and they know how to spell it and they can go find it right away. The fourth thing is don't make it too long. Again, you want something that's memorable. You don't want a big old clunky like domain name up there or your blog name. Also, as you're promoting blog posts and including URLs, your URL name is gonna be massive. If you have your domain name plus your blog post name up in the URL, like, it's just obnoxious and it's gonna be way too much. You want to keep it as short as possible. I would say 4 or 5 words max. Definitely trying to keep it within 2 or 3. The fifth tip is don't be cute, be clear. Ideally, you want your audience to know what your blog is about right away. So including that keyword is huge, is one of the big things that you can do. That's why I put it as the very first thing. But I see so many new bloggers who want to use alliteration or play off their name or do something that rhymes, and I definitely, like, those are creative and I definitely appreciate that, but more than being cute and creative, you want to be clear. I know that's a hard one. It definitely was for me, but again, you want to be memorable to your audience. So maybe something creative that is memorable will, you know, stick with them. And that's totally okay. You can get as creative as you want. But I highly recommend more than anything to make it clear to your audience what your blog is about. The sixth tip is to Google it. If you come up with a potential blog name, you want to see, 1, if it's available, and 2, what already is associated with it. There's a few different resources that you can use to see if the name is available. I will link those down below, but you want to see if it's available as a domain name. You want to see if it's available on socials, if you're going to be using social, or maybe that's not important to you. You just want to see if it's available, first of all. Second of all, you want to see what's associated with it. So if you type it in and maybe the domain name is available, just type it into Google, not simplyblognow.com, but instead simply blog now, and see what else comes up. See what your competition is going to be, see what people are going to find when they search for, you know, your potential blog name. Just see what else is associated with it. And if the name is taken, you can use the results to maybe help you brainstorm some other ideas. So looking at the keywords that other people are using in your niche, in the words in the blog name that you were going to use, and insert that into the name modifier and come up with a different and available domain name and blog name. So do some Google research and a little bit of digging to find out what the name is all about. So those are the 6 tips. And while I know that they'll help you and I want you to dive into each of those as you're coming up with your blog name, you might be thinking like, cool stuff, thanks, but ultimately I still have to come up with the name and like choose the one that I want. Yes, I know it's such an exciting and frustrating like place to be. It's the potential of like what you're trying to create alongside, holy cow, I'm actually creating this. This feels so final. And we are going to figure this out together. So if you're like me and need a little bit of time to make sure that you actually like something and that you're going to move forward with this decision, I have some recommendations for you. First of all, say it out loud. Say it out loud over and over to yourself first to get comfortable with it and to see if you actually like it. Like, practice saying it out loud. I know it's kind of weird to do, but go ahead and do it. Hey, what's your blog about? You can answer. This is like a call and response. Oh, it's called Simply Blog Now. I help new bloggers start and grow their blogs. Boom. Like, love that. The second thing that you can do is tell your family and friends. Ask for their opinions. Maybe you have more than one idea, or maybe they have some ideas that you haven't thought of yet. You're gonna get a lot of opinions, okay? And that's kind of something I want to warn you about. But I would tell a trusted few that you want to hear feedback from, especially people who are lined up with what you're doing and like know what you're getting yourself into and what you're trying to build. Ask them for their opinions, ask them to sleep on it and let you know. And also just the act of like telling them, of being like, hey, I'm starting this blog, it's called Simply Blog Now. Like, that will help you see if you like love saying that, if you embrace that, or if you're like, oh, I'm not sure if that's what I want to call it. And then another thing you can do if you really do want to put yourself out there and announce it to the world is you can ask on your socials. So you can do a poll on Instagram story, you can do just a post about it, you can do Facebook. Again, you're gonna get a whole lot of feedback coming back to you, so just be ready for that. And then something else that you can do on social media is you can join some blogging Facebook groups, and I actually did a whole video on this as well. Here it is. here and down below. But I talked about joining Facebook groups, and one thing that you can do is ask in those groups for suggestions on a name or of a name, or if you're trying to decide between two names. That is definitely something that I would recommend. Those are people who are into blogging, who will give you feedback specific to blogging. They don't necessarily know you or what you're about, but they know what blogging is about. So they might have some good feedback for you there. And one more thing, because I always get asked this question, is it okay to have your name as the domain name? And the answer is yes. Actually, that's what I did right away when I could not think of a blog name for the life of me because I was trying to be perfect. Actually, I should have included that as a tip. Don't try and be perfect. Anyway, my blog name was stephcastelein.com. The big hindrance with using your own name is the spelling. But as you become more known, your blog gets more traffic, SEO is led there, you establish a voice, a niche, and a brand for your blog and for your name, people are gonna find you. A lot of people do it and a lot of people have success with it. So if that's something that you wanna do, go for it. But that's it, guys. Some tips and tricks that will help you name your blog. It's, again, like I said, such an exciting time. It feels like there's so much weight with it. Sometimes it's really frustrating, but you can totally do this. Like I said at the beginning, you can always change if you have to. That's not the goal, but knowing that I could change gave me the peace of mind that I needed to just make a decision and start actually blogging. So if that's you too, if you're like putting a lot of weight on this decision, rest assured you can always change. Let me know if you have any questions about naming your blog. I'd love to help you how I can. Again, I'll link those resources down below. Be sure to like and subscribe. We're on our way to 1,000, guys, and I could not do this without you. I'm so excited. So thanks for all of your support and well wishes and oh man, just all your encouragement all the time. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a fantastic day wherever you are. Good luck naming your blog, and remember, things happen through action, okay? So don't be afraid to just go in, dive all in, and just do the dang thing. You got this, my friend. All right, we'll talk to you in the next video. Have a good one. Bye. Hello, everyone. My name is Steph Castelein. I'm with the Each Day Slow blog. Goodness, that is loud. That was not supposed to play. I feel a lot of pressure because there's 2 cameras on me now. Okay, here we go.